I was recently watching on an old VHS tape that I recorded the first time it aired. Ninja Turtles Forever, I think was what it was called, a sort of anniversary mashup of all different kinds of, generations of the Ninja Turtles from the animated series, the original one from back in like late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was, to the one from the 2000s, and, even incorporating sort of an animated form of the original comics version, all that kind of stuff. And it was all thrown into this multiverse kind of aesthetic, spinning out of the previous video I put up on this channel. But I was a burgeoning Ninja Turtles fan, and it kind of eventually tapered out. My interest in Ninja Turtles for a while. I really loved the live action movies, the first two, and I never fully got into it as much as I would later see people talking about it, like knowing the backlog of characters that were, villains or worked in cooperation with the Turtles and everything. And for the longest time, I've been trying to figure out why my interest in it fizzled out. And then I had a recollection of an experience from childhood that could probably be the pinpointed moment when that transfer happened. It was after the first movie came out. I don't think the second one had been out at that point. It might have been, but we were basically told that a local Taco Bell was going to have an appearance by the Ninja Turtles. And in my mind, as a kid at that time, or early teenage years, my excitement just went through the roof because I was already a burgeoning movie buff. I was a comic book sci-fi fan, all this kind of stuff. Loved Star Trek, loved comic books, loved the Ninja Turtles. And I loved the idea of movie production, things like Dick Tracy. I would be taken by my grandparents to Disney's then MGM Studios, where you could go on the back lot and see aspects of how scenes were filmed and the production elements of all those things. And I had gotten it into my head by them advertising, hey, the Ninja Turtles are coming. That meant I was going to be able to go see the way they looked in the movie. The sort of animatronic and full body suit. I knew they were, people in suits, but I didn't care. I wanted a picture of myself with that because they were so realistic. And even to this day, I look back at that first Ninja Turtles movie, and that to me is the pitch perfect personification of what I imagined them to be if they were real, even to this day. And so we go, my grandparents end up taking us. They're going to buy us lunch. Our mom is there, and, my sister's there. We're all excited to see the Ninja Turtles because of just the sheer excitement that I put forth in this. And when finally, after we ate and the hour of their arrival was coming, I'm thinking they're going to pull up in, the Turtle Mobile or whatever the truck was called. I don't even remember anymore. But they end up, pulling up in, a van, like minivan or something like that. Or it might have even been a pickup truck. I don't really remember what they arrived in. But essentially, you had four guys get out of, this vehicle, and they were wearing these, sock masks over their heads, with the eye holes actually cut out, so you can see the eyes underneath and the human flesh underneath, just looking absolutely horrifying and horrible. The worst kind of Halloween costumes for an adult that you could ever find, and these look like they were crocheted at home. Okay, not even store-bought. That's how bad they looked. In fact, I think they might have just been wearing Ninja Turtle t-shirts, and the rest of the costumes were built around that. Like a ski mask that just turned out, they dyed it green and they put a mask over that, and then they had the eye holes. And my love of the Ninja Turtles and a lot of my loves of a lot of different things just crushed under that realization of how I had so built up my excitement and so built up this anticipation, and it withered away. It was like popping a balloon. It wasn't even a sensation. It was just withering out and blowing out the air and just dying and withering away. It was instant. As soon as I saw the first guy get out, I was like, okay, we're leaving. We're going. Let's get the hell out of here. No. Literally, my disposition, I really irked my grandmother because she was the type of person who, hey, I paid money, you're going to get a picture taken. And it was kind of like, if you don't want me to magically pull out a gun and blow my own brains out right here, you will get in the frickin' car and we will leave now, or else, I will kill your dog if we don't leave. You know? That was just, I think that was the crushing blow. The moment where suddenly the division between, the fantasy and the reality, even though I had already understood that it wasn't real. It was a movie. There was a process of filming and actors and animatronics and all these things I really had interest in. I thought it was like going to be going to a con, or what, I didn't even know what cons were at the time, but what cons today are the equivalent. You can go to these places and see the costumes straight out of films, or you can see the animatronics, or you go to Star Wars Celebration, you see the new little robot that's going to be in The Force Awakens. All these kinds of things. I thought that's what I was going to be experiencing, and instead I get these 4 hobos in Halloween costumes made at home to look like the Ninja Turtles, and I'm sure I wasn't the only kid there. Again, early teens, but there were younger kids who were eating it up, and it was a very just disconcerting and disappointing experience. And I don't think I ever viewed the Ninja Turtles the same way again because of that. And I lost interest in the series, and I lost interest in, for a long time. I mean, for almost a decade. It was around the time where my interest in comics had fizzled out. And I didn't go back to comics, trades and such like that for almost 10 years, maybe a little more. And it just all coincided with this idea. Unfortunately, I was being told at the same time, you have to grow up, you have to put childish things away. And I had culled a lot of my action figure collectibles and stuff because I thought I had to get rid of them in order to grow up. And just all of these experiences. But that was the one sort of, the henpecked moment that I can look back to as far as what was integral into my, these days, only sort of cursory familiarity with the Ninja Turtles, which I always felt like I should have been more into, but this moment killed it for me. And it did more harm than good for a very long time in fandom and just being, open to things. And I don't know, man. I mean, you definitely got to read the fine print. I don't even know if the article or, the advertisement that was advertising it had even said, this is what you could expect or whatever, but you got to be really careful in fandom with your expectations. Not everything's going to be Doctor Who The Experience, where you can see the mock-up of the TARDIS and the costumes, or like Comic-Con, where you can go see, the suits for Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman from, Batman v Superman. It's not all going to play out that way, and sometimes you're really risking your own fandom.